Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Frontline Advantage. I'm Vivek, Kumar, your host, and I'm a little under the weather today, so please bear with me and my voice. I still wanted to continue recording today's episode. We have a very special guest, Shawn Furman, who's part of the Manufacturers Resource Center in the Lehigh Valley. Shawn and I met earlier this year, and I was excited for the fact that he had us actually come present at a recent event that they did. And I wanted to have us all hear about his background and why he cares about people, the workforce, employees, and the importance of that for manufacturing. I won't be talking as much today, given my voice, so I'll leave it to Shawn, our special guest. Shawn, welcome to the Frontline Advantage.
Thank you very much, Vivek, and I hope you get feeling well soon.
Thank you. Shawn, why don't you briefly talk about your background and what led you to MRC?
Sure. I've spent roughly 20 years in industry working with some larger corporations, Hershey Chocolate to be one, a large brand a lot of people know about. Spent some time with a small family-run pet food company, and then spent some time with a medium-sized company, Boston Beer. And all through all of those experiences that I had, there was one thing in common about what I did, and that was making people's lives at work better, right? So making them appreciate engineering more, have an appreciation for automation, and, hopefully just making their day a little better and having conversations with them and understand what frustrated them and how could I help them. So that's, I guess, been the common thread in my career, is really wanting to engage with people and make them enjoy work a little bit more and be more productive and, not dread coming to work every day to do something they don't want to do.
Tell us a little bit about the demographics of the workforce, of the company base that you have at MRC Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, so MRC has been around for quite a while, much longer than I've been there. I've only been there a brief 6 months, 7 months now. So what we do as a whole, we're here to support small to mid-sized manufacturers and help them stay competitive, get them off the ground, get their business launched, getting competitive, staying competitive. And we do a lot of that through workforce development, training of supervision, middle management, upper management, all kinds of resources that we have. We have a Lean Master course that we offer for Lean certification, Six Sigma certification. So historically, the MRC has been around, workforce development and training. I came into play to help introduce and get a advanced manufacturing technology, AMT program, off the ground and offer that to our clients as well, because the leadership at MRC recognized there's a need for companies to recognize or at least have some awareness of what's out there that can help them make their companies more effective and really help them increase their competitive advantage through investing in technologies.
That's great. What would you say are the top 3 priorities for a lot of the companies you work with within MRC? And you talked a little bit about AMT and the advancement, but what would you say are the top 3 priorities right now for 2023?
I would say the top priorities for the manufacturers that we're working with is, number one, attracting talent. And here in the Lehigh Valley, there's warehouses going up all over the place. Not necessarily high quality jobs, but they are jobs. But they're drawing. You have the really, really big companies in the Lehigh Valley that are drawing from the smaller companies that we're working with, the small to mid-sized companies. So that's a huge challenge. Attracting talent and then retaining that talent as well. As new companies come in, we're seeing wages rise across the board for relatively simple jobs, and that's pulling people out of, smaller shops that can't offer the benefits package or the growth opportunity that, some larger companies can. And I would say the third is being efficient in your manufacturing operations, right? There's a lot of inefficiencies out there, a lot of low volume, high mix products, and that's expensive, right? It's expensive to set up a piece of equipment and then tear it down, after running 1,000 widgets, right? You want to run 200,000 widgets in a week. So that, I would say, that's the 3 challenges that we're seeing and trying to help our clients with.
Interesting. So first one, attracting talent. The second one, retaining talent, being able to compete, especially with the larger, operations that set up in the area. And the third is around these operations, thinking about scalability, margins, SOPs, really making it kind of make business sense. When we think about some of those categories, especially related to people, what are some of the ways that you're finding people are dealing with it right now? Are you finding that they're able to compete? How are they doing so if they are? Or if they're falling short, what is their reaction? Are they acknowledging that there's a problem that exists? Or are they sort of in denial?
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies that we're working with are understanding and know that there is a problem. But I think a lot of them are struggling, us included, is how to help fix that. And part of that is through maybe investing in advanced manufacturing technology or, some type of automation. But that should never be the solution, right? Just throwing money at automation isn't going to solve labor problems. So some interesting things that are going on, not so much at a local level, but more at a national level that is trickling down to the local levels is, if you look at what the NIST is, National Institute of Science and Technology, they have gone to Germany recently to study the Germany apprenticeship programs that exist over there, which I've had experience with in my past, traveling over there to equipment manufacturers. And it's really impressive how they start to prepare students to enter the workforce at a very early age. We're talking, late middle school, 8th grade, and they're starting to direct them into somewhere where they fit, right? Where they want to be, and they just grow from there. You're kind of directing them into a career path, but you educate them on that specific career path and help them to develop. So that's something that's really interesting. And MRC does partner with some of the local high schools through a program called What's So Cool About Manufacturing. I'll put a little plug in for that program that's run out of our office. A lot of that stuff that students aren't exposed to, that hopefully we're helping propagate that interest in manufacturing and a job or career, I should say, in manufacturing.
I like that. You talk about it being a career, right there. And there are a couple of trends that come to mind. One is this idea of reshoring and the U.S. bringing back more manufacturing jobs for various reasons, whether it's geopolitical or whatever they may be. The second is this trend, especially around AI, and it seems to be more prevalent right now in the Bay Area with talk around it affecting and replacing knowledge work. So, if you look at various roles like doctor versus nurse, or even lawyers versus like welders or plumbers, where you sort of think about roles where they're not as repeatable and there's dexterity required with the hands and being able to be agile. There's probably been also this third factor, which is this long time we've said to people, you need to go get a college degree. You need to go study for 4 years. And unless you do that, you'll be deemed and looked at in society in a way that is not shown as celebrating your capabilities and accomplishments. Are you starting to see those signs? So you talked about what's so cool about manufacturing and these initiatives beginning in high school, community colleges, trade school environments. There are companies that are focused on creating marketplaces to get more people into manufacturing. Are you seeing any early signs of those trends starting to adjust and become better? And while that may help for medium to longer term, we can then talk about, how do we deal with it in the short run to be able to continue the businesses, but just out of curiosity.
Yeah. So yes. If you look at trade schools, vocational schools, their overall enrollment pre-COVID numbers were down, and numbers were going down in all of education, all secondary education, right? You look at universities, 4-year degrees, 2-year technical degrees. But now they're growing. Vocational schools are growing. And I'm defining a vocational school as a high school-based program where, and I'll give an example. My son is going to be in 9th grade high school next year. he will be attending a vocational school in the morning and still have his core competency coursework in the afternoon. So yes, it's definitely changing. I went to the open house with him last year, and we couldn't find a parking space within, half a mile of the campus. It was completely packed. So I'm definitely seeing trends, not just from reading news articles, but actually seeing it and living it with a teenage son who's, at that place of life where he's, needs to start to figure out where he's going to go. So yeah, it's definitely happening. It's growing. It's a great thing to see.
When we think about some of these new, and that's fantastic to hear those firsthand anecdotes and actually living in the shorter term. When we think about ways these smaller and mid-sized manufacturers can compete with the larger companies, if we can't compete on wages, if we maybe can't compete on some of the benefits and growth and development you were talking about, a lot of times people talk about culture and that feel of what it's like in those environments. What are the ways companies are competing today? And are there solutions out there where in the shorter and more medium term, smaller and mid-sized manufacturers can better compete against the larger players if they're given exposure to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Some things that you see that I haven't seen, being at MRC, but knowing some people personally who have started their own engineering businesses, doing things like, number one, feeling wanted matters, right? You can throw as much money as you want at somebody and they aren't necessarily going to be happy. I think that holds true for a large amount of the population. People don't leave jobs for money. They leave jobs because they don't feel wanted and they don't like their manager. I think those are probably the two primary causes if you did the research. So yeah, going to a small company, you may have the opportunity to invest and get ownership within the company. If the company knows what they're doing and they have a good leader in the company, you have opportunities to grow within that company to help expand it. And that's what, if I had my own small company, I'd want to hire people that I can trust and that I want to grow. And if they want to grow and I want them to grow, guess what? That's a pretty good relationship to make my business successful. So it all kind of ties back to talking to your workforce, staying in touch with them. And that's where I'll give a plug for your software, right? The Teamforce AI, instantaneous feedback. Everybody's wants to have the nice big display in the shop floor that says our OEE was 90% today, and it's all green and everybody's happy. But having something like that, like what's the mood of the shop floor today, right? What's our current culture, like how's everybody feeling? Having that feedback is just as important as knowing how your equipment's running. So keeping people engaged and keeping them involved in your business plans, it's not necessarily, again, it's not the money, it's not the benefits, it's, feeling wanted and letting those people explore and let them be intellectually curious on, things they want to learn about to help make your company better and their life at work better as well.
When you have these discussions with the companies at MRC, because you sort of talked about, they acknowledge that it's a concern, it's a problem, it's a top priority. Are they starting to take action just like we're talking about right now? Is there a desire to take action, or is it sort of like we're on the cusp where this seems a little novel, seems a little new? Let's start to see how this actually works, because if we start to get this feedback, we don't know how we'll feel about getting all of it. Like when you talk to them, what's sort of the stories you're hearing from them?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that any of them are really trying to explore this technology right now. And it's, something that as I continue to do assessments with clients, it's something that they want to engage in and be interested in, just because MRC has a very positive, not culture. I'm drawing a blank on the word that I want to say here, but we're well known in the area, well respected, and when we offer something, people tend to listen and be interested in it. So is I continue down the road and kind of beat this drum of make sure people are involved when you're looking at AMT investments, right? Automation investments, whatever it is, make sure that the lowest person that's doing the work on this is involved in the project. So, number one, you're recognizing them by involving them. Number two, you're instilling some sense of ownership in whatever your investment is going to be. And number three, you get feedback from them, continually. So, really engaging your workforce is important. And that's what we are trying to preach and get across. I know I'm kind of off on a tangent here a little bit from what your question was, but, at the end of the day, getting people's feedback and reacting to that feedback is just as important as collecting OEE and reacting to OEE. So it's something that, we really need to work on talking to our clients on. And it's going to be one of the technology slices that fit into the advanced manufacturing technology pie, wheel, whatever you want to call it, industry 4.0 wheel. It's another tool for folks to use, and it's very powerful. So,
for a long time, people also talked about college of being like the projected earnings into the future. But if AI is going to take a lot of those jobs, there's studies that say 80% of all jobs are going to be affected by AI in 20 years. And it may have been hard to believe that a few years ago, but
sure.
If you think about what's least likely to be affected by technology, I've done work prior to what we're doing at Teamforce. My background's in a little bit in Wi-Fi as well, and access points. And I remember going up into attics and, signal strength testing and setting up the wires and dealing with insulation and mounting access points. And I'm just thinking like, they're robots and they can be helpful, but there's even in the attics, you got to climb over certain areas. You got to watch your step. That it's probably a little bit more as a ways away from robots entirely kind of doing some of those types of roles. So I'm with you. I don't think it's a bad idea, especially to have this next generation. And my wife and I are expecting a kid. And as we think about, what he'll be doing in his future, to have these skills that are not as easily replaceable by machines or just not as commoditized even in some of the things that we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good thing. And I think that's the message people need to get too, is to be really intellectually honest around, hey, look, technology is coming. You talk about the advanced manufacturing, we talk about AI and there may be what ifs with regulation and all of that, but for the most part, having skills that are harder for a machine to entirely replace is probably a good thing. And especially when there's uncertainty. Again, do you want to take that big loan and have that, projected earnings not be what, you might have imagined it to be, versus you can literally get paid up front and have a skill set that is in higher demand.
Yeah, and I think it's great what the national government is doing with the NIST, right? Going to Germany and understanding how that apprenticeship program works, because it works. You look at Germany, I think we're 12% GDP in the U.S. with manufacturing. I think Germany's 21%, so that's quite a big gap. So I think there's a lot of room for improvement in the U.S. And can we get there? Yeah, but we need to start figuring things out now and getting this next generation of graduates involved in, going to the vocational school programs, the technology schools, and getting their hands on, and like you said, finding skills that aren't easily replaced by AI or automation or what the next big thing is going to be, right? So.
Absolutely. That's a message right there. This next generation, as you search this on YouTube and you see this video. Shawn, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fantastic, and look forward to our next one. Cheers, everyone.